Russia and Ukraine have agreed to a large-scale prisoner exchange, the most significant announcement to come out of their first in-person negotiations since March of 2022. But the talks in Istanbul saw little progress towards ending their three-year war or any suspension of the fighting. U.S. President Donald Trump says he's moving to set up direct talks with his Russian counterpart as soon as he can, and he will use leverage over Vladimir Putin if he has to.
He and I will meet. I think we'll solve it, or maybe not, but at least we'll know. And if we don't solve it, it'll be very interesting.
Ross Cullen has more on the negotiations between Moscow and Kyiv in Istanbul.
But after delays and uncertainty, the much-anticipated peace talks between Russia and Ukraine took place here in Istanbul on Friday. And the headline announcement was the agreement to exchange 1,000 prisoners of war each. And if that swap goes ahead, it will be the biggest such exchange since the start of the war. But that was the main announcement. There was no agreement to impose an immediate, unconditional ceasefire. That's a Ukrainian proposal, which has found support from the United States, Europe, China and Turkey, but so far Russia says other conditions must be fulfilled before it can discuss bringing in a halt to the fighting.
Мы договорились о том, что каждая сторона представит свое видение возможного будущего прекращения огня. Пропишет это в деталях. После того, как такое видение будет представлено, мы полагаем целесообразным, тоже об этом договорено, продолжить наши переговоры.
The lead negotiator for the Russian delegation was Vladimir Medinsky, and he said that overall he was generally satisfied with how the talks went, saying that Moscow took note of the Ukrainian request for Volodymyr Zelensky and Vladimir Putin to have a meeting. That was something that the Ukrainian leader hoped would have happened here in Turkey over the last couple of days, but the Russian president chose not to come to Istanbul.
The pressure on the Russian Federation must continue. We should not really relax at this point. And there are many issues that can be resolved if only the leaders can meet.
Now, in terms of the Ukrainian side, there were some reports that Russia had presented what Ukraine described as completely unrealistic demands, including calling for Ukraine to pull out all of its forces from the areas of eastern Ukraine where Russia occupies territory. That is territory which is internationally recognized as belonging to Ukraine. The host for the meeting, the mediator, was the Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan, and he said that he thought it was an important day for world peace, saying the prisoner exchange would be a confidence-building measure, and he also said that both sides had agreed in principle to meet again. Also taking place on Friday was a gathering of the European political community. This is a group which comprises pretty much all of the nations in Europe, and Emmanuel Macron from France, Keir Starmer from Britain and the new German Chancellor Friedrich Merz were all in Albania for that meeting, along with Volodymyr Zelensky. And after the talks here concluded, they had a call with the US leader, President Trump, putting it to the US president that they found that Russia's position of continuing not to impose a ceasefire was completely unacceptable. And they said, in the words of Keir Starmer, they would be closely aligning on what actions to take next. They could range from massive sanctions, a possible trade embargo, or, in the words of the French foreign minister, an attempt to suffocate and devastate the Russian economy. Ross Cullen, CNA, Istanbul.